First of all, Ewan, how does it feel to become chairman?
Yeah, it feels a wee bit strange, to be honest with you, Ewan, but very honoured to take up the role as chairman of this great football club. Was kind of surprised but delighted when Mike asked me if we would take over from him. So yeah, big challenge in front of us, but something I'm really looking forward to and taking the club forward next season.
And a word on Mike, obviously you worked with him, you were his vice chair for I think just under 7 years or around 7 years, so you obviously knew him very well, and he was at the club for a long time. Just a word of tribute to Mike as he leaves the club.
Absolutely. Mike's done a terrific job for this football club, and all the years he was on the board before he became chairman just about 7 years ago. It's a big commitment for somebody to give that length of service to a football club. And I know, being Mike's vice chairman for the last, as I say, nearly 7 years, how much effort and time and commitment that he put into trying to get everything right at this football club. Tremendous servant. Really big impact he's had on the ground here. You just have to look around the infrastructure we've got now. We've had some great success on the field, promotions, been in the championship for 5 years, and Mike's led us on that journey. So terrific leadership from Mike, and he'll be missed around the football club. But I know I could, if I still need some advice or some of his experience, he's still on hand, and I can still have the advantage of having those contacts with Mike.
I mean, you'll have learned a lot from Mike, but you'll also bring your own style. How will your style, first of all, complement what Mike's done here? Because obviously you're very proud of what you've achieved with Mike being the chairman. And how will it differ? How will things change?
Well, I don't want and I don't intend to make fundamental change here. There's a lot good here about this football club. And yes, the last season was disappointing, and we touch on that in a second. But there's a lot of good things here. The infrastructure is good. We've got great staff. We've got a very successful club shop. We've had lots of great sponsors supporting us, and that's without all the supporters who come along to our games and support us from afar. So all that's really good, and obviously I don't want to change any of that. We're having to, obviously the board and myself are having to have a refocus on how we can finance the club going forward, because our income from SPFL and from turnstile income next year is going to be reduced now that we're going to be in League One. So we're going to have to not necessarily make lots of big changes, but we're going to have a refresh on our costs and our income coming in. So that will be our biggest focus going forward in terms of where we were in the last few years.
I guess you're touching upon it, so I'll come to that point first. Financially, obviously, you say there is going to be an impact, it's inevitable, but the club generally has been in a healthy financial state, and it is in a healthy financial state.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we are on a sound financial footing, but the realism is that our income is going to be reduced from next year. Now, what is really, I want to turn that into a positive, because just about all of our sponsors who were with us last season and the seasons before have remained with us for next season, and indeed we've actually got more sponsors, so that is a real good positive start. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank those sponsors for their generosity and continued support to the club. But we need to look at other ways of generating income so that we can give the manager and the management team a competitive playing budget to get good players in here into this football club that can deliver success, and that is the driver going forward.
One question on last season, there's no sugarcoating, it wasn't a great year for the club, not what you would have wanted to have happened, but in every time you're in adversity you learn lessons, and you use those lessons for the good. What lessons did you take from last season that can help drive the club forward?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ewan. It was disappointing, and there's no point in saying otherwise. I mean, everybody connected with this club is really disappointed that we got relegated. But out of that, we need to turn that around, and we need to get positivity back into the football club. Lessons we learned, well, go on to the playing staff. When we were doing really well a couple of seasons ago, finishing where we did high up in the championship, the basis of the squad was part-time Scottish-based players, supplemented by some really good loan signings. And that's where we want to get back to this coming season. We've got a good core of players who the manager has retained, who are all Scottish-based part-time players. We'll not be going to the hybrid system again. We've taken that decision, and we're going to focus our future signings on players who've either played at part-time level before, or perhaps who've been at full-time and who want to come back to part-time. You know, we've got a couple of good examples there with Callum Gallagher and Gavin Riley, who have already signed. Two real out-and-out strikers, and that's the type of player that we want to sign going forward. The manager's clearly speaking to other players at the moment, and hopefully in the next few weeks we'll have more signings to report, and as soon as there's something to report, obviously we'll let the fans know about that. But to get these players in, the importance of us selling season tickets is enormous, and I thank everybody who's purchased season tickets in past years, who have already renewed their season tickets for this season. Absolutely brilliant. We're off to a really good start in terms of our sales, but I would encourage anybody who's thinking about buying a season ticket, renewing a season ticket, and we've had actually quite a few new season ticket sales, which is great, to come and do that as soon as they feel they can do it, and that helps boost our ability to go and sign new players. So that's the sort of route we're on for the future. It worked for us in the past, it worked very well for us in the past, and that's what we want to get back to.
I guess one of the strengths that everybody can point to over the last probably the last 10 years is how strong the community links have been between the club. The community's really bought into the club's bought into the community. Will that continue under your leadership as well?
Absolutely, and strengthen it even further, Ewan. I mean, I've just had some communications there with Barry Valentine from the Community Trust, and we're going to set up a meeting just to see how we can strengthen that relationship further. We're intending on creating a role of a supporter liaison officer, or two maybe, to help engage with supporters, and just be further involved in the community as much as we can. We've got a ladies team now as well, and we want to show them as much support as we can. We've got a club shop up in the Abbey Gate, which I think, as well as selling products, goods, is also a bit of a hub for people going in and having a chat with the staff in there, and that's the kind of community engagement that we're looking for, and we'll continue to develop that going forward. Yeah.
Touch on the manager. Obviously, it wouldn't have been the season that he wanted or the start to his Arbroath management career. We're not sugarcoating that, but he did have a very open, honest, frank meeting with the supporters towards the end of the season, which I know the board were at as well. How important was that meeting, and how important is it for him to get the backing going forward?
Absolutely, and he did come up, and he openly and honestly answered all of the questions that were put to him, which was good, and I hope it answered a few of the queries that the supporters rightly had and their views. Jim McIntyre is absolutely clear that what happened last season was not acceptable, but we need to all get behind him for this incoming season, get his own players on the pitch, which will happen. He's kept a number of the existing squad, and some of them have signed new contracts, which is great. But absolutely, it's been made pretty clear to Jim from me, and he came to our board meeting earlier this week, what our expectations are, what the supporters' expectations are for next season, and we need to improve. And I'm confident that if we can get good players on that pitch with his leadership, then I think we'll be challenging in League One. I hope to be challenging in League One next season. In addition to that, we've now got, for the start of the incoming season, as well as Jim and Jimmy Boyle, we've got the goalkeeping coach in place. We've just appointed Tom Ritchie as our fitness coach, so we've got a full complement of backroom staff, along with our physio, ready to go for pre-season training and get off to a really good positive start, so that come the first league game, and the first cup game, we are ready to go and go positively on the pitch.
I can sense an energy and a determination. You obviously, I guess when you go down, when there's relegation, there's the initial shock. Then you look at what's the implications. But then when you accept that that's your fate, it's looking forward and then drawing a line under it and going forward. But I can sense an energy, a determination to put things right.
Absolutely, Ewan. I wouldn't have taken this role on if I didn't have the commitment to lead the club forward. And absolutely, you're right. Massive disappointment, season 23-24. But for season 24-25, we need to gather everybody together. We need to be all working together, on and off the park, to make sure that season 24-25 is a success. And as chairman, I need to lead that, and I do intend to lead it. And I'll work as hard as I can to make sure that we deliver success here. Somebody asked me the other day, what's the ambition at Arbroath Football Club? Well, the ambition at Arbroath Football Club in the short term is to try our best to return to the Championship. We loved it up there, we've tasted it, what it's like up there, and we want to get back there. But nobody should fail to understand that League One is going to be a really difficult league. There's some really good teams in that league, and we need to be at the top of our game and be competitive to be successful. But our short-term ambition is to try and return to the Championship. Beyond that, well, we would see where we go after that. But we need to get back to being a successful part-time football club, enthusing the support and just generating a really good positive atmosphere around the club. And that's what I want to see going forward.
I talked and asked you about lessons learned from last season, but what about lessons learned from the successful times as well? Because obviously you do learn with what went right in those times.
Absolutely. No matter the end of any season you're in, whether you've been successful or otherwise, you need to sit back and look at what worked and what didn't work. And I just go back to the players that Dick and Ian had at that point. You know, they were all homegrown players who most of them were pretty experienced, with a sparkling younger players in the team, and that's what we need to get back to. And players who show commitment every week to the jersey and who want to win games, particularly here at Gayfield. We need to get back to Gayfield being a place where, you know, teams don't really want to come to, and we need to get back to that. And going back to the good years, that's what happened. We had a really, really good record here at home, and the last couple of years that's not happened. We need to have great performances here, scoring goals, getting supporters behind us, and getting people wanting to come back to every game. That's what we want, and that's lessons learned from before.
I think the club's mantra is written emblazoned on the tunnel, togetherness. How important is that, not just to be a word, but to be an action at this club and to be...
Absolutely, and words are easy, Ewan. Actions are always more difficult, but by being together we can be stronger across the whole range of this football club, on and off the pitch. If we're not together, we're a bit fractured, then that doesn't lead to success in my view. We need always to be together, have good standards on and off the pitch, and people believing in what we're trying to do here. And I think going forward in the next few months, we need to get that togetherness back, and I think we can be successful again in the future.